David Sirota, he had tweeted out, "You're not the hero here, Jimmy Dore. You're not the hero. You're not the hero," because David Sirota is the hero. Let's listen to Gene Ugar and David Sirota talk for a second.
Possibility, but certainly, you could imagine a group of blue dogs potentially threatening to go to a conservative or even a quote unquote moderate Republican, if you believe that even exists. That's one remote possibility. You could have a different possibility where if progressives abstain, there's another candidate, another Democratic candidate who could put their name in to run.
Hakeem Jeffries.
And agree to making that concession to the progressives to get their votes and try to forge a different coalition. So I think it's in some ways it's a crapshoot. And look, I think that does give...
Listen here, David Sirota, this is precisely what we want. We want Pramila Jayapal's H.R. 1384. We want H.R. 1384. We want Medicare for all or bust, M4A. Or if Nancy Pelosi doesn't put that up for a floor vote, then we're going to elect Hakeem Jeffries to be the new Speaker of the House. We're kicking Nancy Pelosi out.
Give those progressive legislators some leverage to say, our votes do not come for free. You have to make some policy concessions to us. Now, I want to say, I think they would have been in an even better position to do this in the caucus vote. What happens typically, in most cases, is the majority caucus in the House, the party...
Yeah, David Sirota. It's actually terrible politics for Gene Ugar and David Sirota to be on the side of Nancy Pelosi, like 10% approval rating. Nobody in this country likes Nancy Pelosi. Meanwhile, Medicare for All has 72% approval. 72% of a Fox News poll says that the American people want Medicare for all. 72%. So the American people want Medicare for all. They don't want Nancy Pelosi.
Party caucus votes. It's not an official vote. It's not an official vote in the House, but they vote for their candidate. And then the person who wins that race, then the party, everybody agrees to vote for that candidate on the floor of the House. So I would say if you could rewind history, you'd want this first to play out in the Democratic caucus where there was a candidate running against Nancy Pelosi. But I still think it means that they have some leverage. And here's the thing. When it comes to a vote on the floor of the...
So David Sirota admits that the progressives have some leverage. I think we only got enough, leverage for 1, 2, 3-point shots. Give it to Jordan. Give it to Jordan. Let's get M4A. Give it to Jordan. Shoot the 3-point shot to win the game. Gene Ugar's barometer is off. He's got terrible politics, going to side against the people, against Medicare for all during a pandemic. Who would vote against universal health care during a pandemic, Jimmy Dore? Gene Ugar would.
Nugget that will help spark people to want to come outside and knock doors the same way that Bernie's campaign drove the largest door-knocking effort in American history and the largest number of campaign donations from individual donors in American history, because he had ideas that sparked people to want to act.
So Jimmy Dore has cut this issue to where a lot of people can understand it. He cut the issue very simply to where this is gaining steam. Lots of people like it. They like what's going on. Jimmy Dore is all about using your power, especially the power at the ballot box. Use the power that you got. We don't have to just give our votes to Pelosi. Just kiss her ass in hopes that she'll give us some of the crumbs and scraps. Are you kidding me? Gene Ugar and David Sirota needs to listen to Briahna Gray.
And I don't think we should be dismissive of the potency of this idea that literally made Jimmy Dore trend for an entire day earlier this week out of nowhere because people were just so excited about the idea of a big public fight involving a reviled woman who has held the entire Democratic Party in a vice grip for 30 years as people are dying in the street. That's an opportunity. I don't know what a bigger opportunity could be if it smashed us all in the face.
I don't think that the floor vote is necessarily the way to meet that opportunity. I think
Yeah, blah, blah, blah is just drinking, Anyways, let's go back to Briahna Joy Gray. She's doing good.
Wait, I like that. That's interesting. Where should I go? What should I do? I want to be involved. And our response is to say, well, I don't know if this is the best strategic option. And all I'm saying is I wouldn't have picked this. I didn't come up with it, but I feel like I'm keen enough to understand that there is energy around this, and we should exploit it. That's all I'm saying. There is obvious energy around this. You don't get to choose all your moments. Rosa Parks, there was a woman, obviously everyone knows the story, but there was like a teen mom woman who was actually kicked off her bus seat. And the NAACP said, I don't know about that for optics. Let's stage it again with Rosa Parks as a respectable citizen. Sometimes you get to do that sort of thing. But for the most part, life just happens. And this isn't, all I'm saying is, and I don't want to minimize the extent to which the Pelosi aspect of this is a real strategic boom. It's not, you can say, let's do it without Pelosi, let's just have marches and parades. Okay, but
just make a lot of good points, David Sirota. What says you?
It's not really very much to ask Nancy Pelosi. You're not really asking her for something that puts her in too tough a position. I would argue it's the minimum that should be expected. That's why I had said I'd like to see, if they're going to use this leverage, them to use the leverage to ask for things that Nancy Pelosi really, really doesn't want to do. Nancy Pelosi does not, for instance, want to remove Richard Neal as the chairman of the Ways and Means Committee. She does not want to necessarily schedule a...
Let's get rid of Richard Neal.
Vote on Ro Khanna's bill, which would empower the HHS secretary to...
Let's get a vote on Ro Khanna's bill. Two good ideas that David Sirota has. Two good ideas. I've always said that he's had two good ideas. He's the petty bitch, though. All I did was ask him a question on Twitter, and that motherfucker lost his mind. He would sit there and say, Jimmy's being petty. He's being petty, and he's being jealous. You're not the hero, Jimmy Dore. That's what David Sirota said. You're not the hero, Jimmy Dore. Who is, then? We don't even have Medicare for all. Nobody said he was the hero.
To allow
he might be the hero that we need, though.
All programs. So,
all right, let's go back to Briahna.
This galvanized folks, and it forced AOC to come to the table in a way that none of our other, oh my gosh, Medicare for all tweets, which I've been incessantly tweeting for the last 9 months of my unemployed life, have resonated. And all I'm saying is, given the very limited downside, why not see how far we can ride this wave?
Yeah, the question is, like, should something be done about Medicare for all that exploits, that exploits, Nancy Pelosi being incredibly unpopular? Then I think the idea that Nando, gave earlier is clearly one of them, right? Do look, you could have that, you could have all of those, all of those sit-ins. You could have the line of people, that breathe.
Nando! Do Nando's idea. Just do Nando's idea.
There's other things that would make sense, but probably this wouldn't be too bad. But, then if the question is...
All right, Ben Burgess, you're cut off.
So my only point in this whole conversation was to say they should actually ask...
His only point, David Sirota only had 1 point.
Nancy Pelosi, for more things, you ask for the whole loaf in an expectation that you may only get half or a quarter of a loaf. You shouldn't ask necessarily for the only crust.
What's he talking about fucking loaves for us? He's nasty. David Sirota is nasty.
You would take at the very beginning, because if you start from that position of negotiation, you're starting from a position of weakness.
So we can get 4 things by pen. We can get a public option. We can end the war on drugs, forgive student debt, and repeal the Patriot Act, all by pen. Repeal the Patriot Act, forgive student loan debt, end the war on drugs, and get us a public option, and get us universal health care, all by pen. So David Sirota says that Medicare for all isn't enough. David Sirota says this is just the beginning. David Sirota says we should ask for not just one thing, but, 3, 4, 5, 10, 20, 100 things. We're not doing enough. We're not asking for enough. For once, David Sirota actually has a decent idea. Yes, you're right, David Sirota. Let's also get $2,000 a month. Let's get $2,000 a month. Let's get some land reform. Let's, shut down this empire. Let's get black people some reparations. There's a lot of shit. Let's end poverty, get the homeless some housing. Let's stop the police from beating the shit out of everybody. There you go. Let's put pressure on Nancy Pelosi to get all those things done. Put Bezos in jail. Just come up with your Christmas wish list, progressives, top 10 list, and then put the pressure on. Get these top 10 things or you're gone. You're out.
Yeah, so let me break it down further. First of all, as you were talking, I realized who could be the new Speaker of the House if things go sideways. Jeff Van Drew. Used to be a Democrat until recently. He's a Republican now, loves Trump. The Democratic leadership loved him a minute before he defected, Right? Republicans now love him. All right, I'm mainly kidding, although with corporate Democrats.
Oh, Jake, you're so funny. Richard Medhurst, he tweeted, Trump didn't settle for $600. Trump did say something about $2,000. $2,000. So since Donald didn't settle for $600, why did the Democrats and progressives? Just yesterday, Pelosi was saying it's significant. What a bunch of clowns. This is Richard Medhurst. Richard Medhurst, right? Francesca Fiorentini, a perfect example of Trumpism used Congress's inadequacy and inaction to demagogue your way to promising something better. But will he succeed in convincing Republicans to do this little this late? Hey, quit. Caitlin Collins, moments after the White House announces pardons for former GOP lawmakers and people tied to Mueller probe, Trump says he doesn't want to sign the stimulus deal. His staff said he would sign demand stimulus checks be raised from $600 to $2,000 and claims he could stay in office. Emma Vigilant, 33 minutes ago, Trump's veto threat is politically brilliant. December 22nd, 2020. Trump's veto threat is politically brilliant. He, like Hawley, is trying to win over voters for 2024 with populism, whether it's as kingmaker or as candidate. But he's screwing Loeffler and Perdue, which is why I bet this ends up as performative and empty as his 2016 populism. So Emma Vigilant believes that Donald Trump's veto threat is brilliant. Politically, it's the fucking smartest goddamn idea. That damn Donald Trump authoritarian fascist. What great thinking. Man, his veto threat is fucking genius. Meanwhile, Jimmy Dore is forced to vote for Nancy Pelosi, to get us Medicare for all. That's not a good idea. That's dumb. That's ridiculous. But Donald Trump's got the great ideas, right? Emma Vigilant? Give me a fucking break. Give me a fucking break. So who would vote against universal health care during the pandemic? Gene Ugar would. And Emma Vigilant. So you don't think it's a good idea to ask the damn question. Meanwhile, Trump's veto threat is fucking brilliant. Okay. Anyways, peace.